The time is just gone 21 minutes past 9 a.m. as we continue with the show this morning. And it's time now to look at an event that is taking place this weekend. We're talking about insurance claims, we're talking about accounting, we're talking about tax, and we're talking about the theft of goods and damage to property that have taken place during this period of rioting and anarchy. Now, Al Baraka Bank, together with Minara, Chamber of Commerce, and Amal, the Association of Muslim Accountants and Lawyers, will be hosting a Zoom webinar and just talking about this particular aspect. And one of the speakers at this webinar will be Yasmeen Suliman, who is a tax executive with Bowmans. Yasmeen, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, Jummah Mubarak to you. Wonderful having you with us this morning. Now, obviously, Yasmeen, this period that we've been through, this period of anarchy, many people have lost a lot. And obviously, people starting to look at now insurance claims, to look at contracts, what they obviously have been tied up with as far as their businesses are concerned. And also from a tax point of view, there are a number of issues that could arise. And this webinar that is taking place, obviously very relevant at this point in time, but also it's going to be beneficial to people, particularly those who are in this dilemma at this point in time.
Yes, exactly. I think there's very little that we can do from an advisory capacity right now, and I think the thought is to allow to provide to the public, especially those businesses that have been impacted by this by these events, some guidance. At the end of the day, we have to use our skills to help whoever we can at this point.
Well, certainly. Now, I see, in fact, you being one of the speakers, and we know Siddiq Isaacs is going to be speaking there as well, because obviously he is an insurance expert. Now, we've already seen, a number of people who have basically lost everything, starting to think along these lines. And just looking at this webinar, and obviously it's going to provide advice, it's going to provide guidance, but also there are many people that don't know what to do at this point in time, because, it's not about losing their physical possessions only. If you look at it from a tax point of view, perhaps, and, you could advise us where people have had possibly their computers burnt, their systems, and this could present challenges as far as tax is concerned, as far as SARS is concerned, submission of returns and the like.
Yeah, look, it is true. I mean, a lot of businesses do keep their, their documentation on the premises itself. And depending on how sophisticated the business is, I mean, most likely they won't have a backup, I think, and we've had situations like this previously, but probably not on the scale, where, businesses have lost documentation through fire or flood damage, and so on. And I think there's a lot that can be done to reconstruct records, actually. There's third-party records that you can access. At the end of the day, you can do estimates as well. Use historical information to estimate what income you would have received up to the point of losing your business. You can also use things like bank statements, creditor statements, things like that to reconstruct. And come to a suitable number that needs to be declared for tax purposes. I think in these circumstances, SARS would be quite, understanding of the fact that the documentation may not be available, especially with the small and medium businesses. I mean, the larger businesses, I would expect them to have some kind of business continuity plans and some kind of offsite storage and so on, where they can access records. I think the next thing is that, besides, wanting to reconstruct records for tax purposes, I mean, you obviously have to do something for insurance purposes as well, and be able to prove the claim that you're making, especially in terms of stock, the assets that were lost in the riots or the unrest, those kind of things. So, you're going to have to compile some kind of documentary record in any event that can stand in good stead for both the insurance side as well as the tax side.
Well, definitely, because I think this is where many people rely on experts like yourselves, on people like Sadiq, obviously to provide that assistance and that guidance, and that is why I think this Zoom webinar is going to go a long way in providing some direction as to where people need to go, what to look for, and how to go about doing things. Yasmeen.
Yes. Look, I think there's also, some very specific things that we're going to be talking about. I think a lot of businesses are unaware, like, some of the tax implications, for example, that you like if a company or a business is a VAT vendor, they don't actually realize, for example, that VAT is payable on insurance proceeds. It becomes quite a nasty surprise at the end of the day when that happens. So it's a matter of giving some basic education on some of the tax things. Tax is not top of mind at the moment for a lot of these businesses. A lot of businesses are in survival mode. Some businesses have been destroyed completely, and the business owners are thinking about whether actually to even start again. But I think, in time, once they get over the survival mode, then the reality of having to get the compliance right, getting the dots, the I's dotted and the T's crossed will come into play. And I think this is just to plant the early seeds of things that they must be careful of, when the time comes. And it's going to take time before the insurance proceeds, come through. It's not going to be immediate and so on. And it's going to take time, but they need to be aware up front that these things are things that they need to look out for in the future.
Well, definitely. And I think what is also important, and as you mentioned, that possibly, SARS may be accommodating and they do understand. And let's hope from an insurance point of view that there is understanding from the insurance companies as well. Because, obviously people have been paying their premiums. They know they've been covered for things like riot cover as well. But sometimes what happens is it becomes very, very technical, Yasmeen. And then when, we look at things like loopholes and the like, and this is where it actually becomes problematic. So, obviously one can offer general advice, but each business, each circumstance is unique in its own.
Yeah, look, I think from an insurance perspective, I think this is a scale of disaster that we haven't seen in a long time. And there's so many businesses impacted. I think the sad part is quite a few are not insured. So those losses are to be borne by themselves. And those that are insured, there's a question of whether the loss will be borne by the insurance company or it will be Sasria. And I think given the nature of the events that have occurred, more likely Sasria that's going to be involved here. I have seen, I'm not an insurance expert, but I've seen insurers already sending out notifications to clients to say that if you've gotten a claim, this is the process. Claims under a certain amount will be fast-tracked. Over a certain amount, you do need a loss adjuster involved and so on. So it looks like the insurance industry, I'm an outsider looking into the insurance industry. It looks like the insurers themselves are putting together quite a big, they're trying to assist their clients. At the end of the day, it's mostly Sasria that's going to be involved in settling claims. But I think the insurance companies are going to be providing as much assistance as they can, from what I can see.
Yes. Now, obviously, I've seen the banner and advertising this event that is taking place, the Zoom webinar. And I see a little note at the bottom in terms of businesses that require support to complete these claims should obviously email details to the Amal or the Minara offices for further assistance and professionals. And I think that is encouraging to note, because in times like these, people don't know who to turn to. And it's important that, you link up with people who can assist. And obviously this can go a long way in even fast tracking some of the issues or the problems that people may have in terms of process and how to go about doing things.
Well, look, I think, a lot of businesses, especially the smaller and medium-sized businesses, don't have a lot of resources to turn to. And I think the idea here is to provide assistance wherever we can. It won't be only myself. I think there's other professionals involved. And I think a lot of professionals will be providing their services on a pro bono basis to assist as many businesses as we can. At the end of the day, we need this economy to work. And we need it to to be successful, for all of us to be successful, actually. So, I think, as an organization, I think that, and there are many professional bodies out there that I think will also lend their assistance to help as many businesses as they can in this time.
Yes. Now, Yasmeen, you being one of the speakers tomorrow, what are you going to be focusing on mainly?
Well, I'll be talking about the tax implications relating to losses and claims, particularly. As I said, it's a nasty surprise sometimes for some taxpayers that are VAT vendors to realize that they actually have to pay VAT, for example, on insurance proceeds. So it's to highlight those things that they need to look out for. There's also some scope to not pay any tax on any of your insurance proceeds if you're planning to reinvest in business assets. So I want to highlight those particular benefits and what needs to be done to qualify for that, so that at least businesses are armed with some knowledge. They know what the timelines are if they are going to be reinvesting. So for example, if a building has been burnt down with a factory or a supermarket in it, and they get a certain sum from the insurer for the as proceeds, they don't necessarily have to be taxed on those proceeds. They can either delay that or defer that to a later stage. Because they're going to be reinvesting. So that's the idea behind this, to be able to impart some information. Obviously, it's going to be quite general because there's so many different businesses out there, but it's to give businesses some kind of guidance. As I said, at least, well, it's not going to be immediate that insurance proceeds will start flowing, but in time when it does, they will know what to look out for and what they need to be careful of.
Yes, and this is taking place tomorrow at 10 a.m. And just for those who are interested, obviously, to attend this webinar, you need to register. There is a link, and this has been shared quite widely on social media. They've also got email addresses where you have specific questions, and these email addresses are info@amal.co.za. That's AMAL, info@amal.co.za, or also at kzn@minara.org.za. Now, these are the two email addresses that you could use if you have got specific questions, and I'm sure they will be addressed. The guest speakers, once again, Siddiq Isaacs, who is the head business support services, Bright's Insurance Company, and also Yasmeen, who is with us this morning. She's an executive with a tax executive with Bowmans. Yasmeen, Jazakallah so much for your time with us this morning.
No problem.
We wish you all the best. Have yourself a wonderful Jummah, and please keep safe.
Jazakallah.
Yasmeen Suliman with us this morning, and that brings us straight on to 9:33 a.m. We come back, we'll be joined by Dr. Seth Cooper.